Welcome to another episode of the Crypto Spenther podcast. This will be a normal episode, so right into the news. First up, Australia. Australian banks are allegedly blocking cryptocurrency transactions and even freezing accounts. So there has been reports of banks interfering with customers' ability to buy crypto. One bank is claiming they do not prohibit or encourage crypto, while another has stated that they outright disallow any kind of purchase of crypto, and another one's saying, "Oh, we're just keeping money laundering from happening." So interesting state of crypto in Australia. A lot of the main barriers there, like the primary way to get crypto is blocking people out, and it's pretty bad that the whole flow of everything can be controlled because banks controlling who can purchase crypto and if they can even have the ability to purchase crypto. So there's not really a concrete way of solving this, honestly, because the easiest option would be having prepaid cards and using those, but that comes at the risk of that eventually being seen as illegal, because that one's easy to imply that it's money laundering, because the whole circumventing banks to buy this and using a prepaid card. Yeah. So Australia is kind of in a bad shape if these banks are on a crusade against crypto, because that basically lots out the entire country if all these banks are kind of united against it or unite against future transactions. It's definitely a problem that needs a solution, just in case any kind of other country decides to implement the same kind of policy, or another country's banks decide to implement that policy. Something to be aware of. Might not want to clear your whole crypto stack just in case this happens to your country. Make sure you don't cash out of everything ever. So next up, Bitcoin will give Japan's economy a substantial boost. So really, Japan's boasting this GDP growth because of Bitcoin. We all know enthusiasm in Japan is really high, and a lot of Chinese companies fled to Japan after China banned exchanges and such. So the fact that it's boosting GDP might encourage other countries to embrace crypto a bit better, but hopefully it won't be in the same manner Japan did, because their tax obligation is ridiculous. NiceHash CEO steps down after 63 million stolen in cyber attack that I reported on. I think it's been about 2-3 weeks, maybe a month since this happened. So it's pretty interesting that they're throwing in new management and trying to recover, because if this happened to an exchange, it'd be over for that exchange. Like, there's no way any exchange can survive a major hack. So it would be interesting to see if this mining service can not fall the same way exchanges do. And I severely doubt it in a way. It's kind of a toss-up to see if mining services or exchanges are more profitable. It's even kind of more iffy because this one's kind of they don't directly own the machines. So really can't tell you what the result is from that, from their kind of revenue or profit standpoint. But as I said, most exchanges don't live after being hacked, so I'd imagine any other service that has been hacked for millions of dollars won't survive that long either. Even if they have pledged to reimburse people of their stolen funds. Bank of England to beat Bitcoin with rival cryptocurrency coming out in 2018. So this was definitely a clickbait title because right in the article it says this coin will probably not be available to the public and only used between banks. So it's more of a threat to Ripple, if anything, because this might prompt other banks to make their own solutions or fork their own solutions rather than depend on an established coin to come and just fill that niche. 2018 is going to be interesting just because of this fact of all these banks and institutions possibly jumping on fully now. Next up, Verge coin is not as anonymous as they claim. Someone is claiming. So, if you've been on this Verge drama, there's been a website that's saying you could see people's IP address, which basically eliminates the entire use of Verge. Some have been transactional IP addresses, but it's been a lot of FUD on both sides, and I don't think there's been a clear third party to say which side is correct or not right now. And with this new Wraith update that they're touting, maybe that could fix it or close up some of these security gaps, who knows. Verge is pretty terrible coin technology wise, but I think people really get confused a good trade and good technology way too much. A lot of these ICOs are good investments because everyone's speculating on it, so you have a high chance of profiting off of them because some people will hold and thinking that it'll be way better, way more in the future, majority of the time. So I feel like this is kind of a similar situation where there's some people who think this is a good trade, which means it will always be a good trade in the future. And since everything is going up, they think, oh, it'll keep going up forever and not be one of those coins that might be subjected to a kind of DGB type fall where it just dies for a few months. But we'll see. Social media has quite the effect on the market, and maybe it's enough to keep Verge alive for a while. Putin investigating Cryptorouble as a way to avoid Western sanctions. So Russia's regulation is really has been paving the way for them to implement their own coin, it seems. That might have been the ultimate goal. However, this coin's going to be pretty limited from what I understand. They're going to have pretty centralized control and track it pretty heavily, according to the article. And the main takeaway here is, what will other countries do once a major player makes their own digital currency? That basically would silence a lot of critics that we have now, because having a Russia-backed coin, even if it's not crypto in a sense, will legitimize the whole space. And you can expect that people will be saying blockchain, not Bitcoin, more and more as institutions and countries adopt digital currencies. Malaysian minister, no Bitcoin trading ban planned. So a lot of people have been worried about Malaysia banning Bitcoins lately, but no ban. Why? Because it says it's beneficial to its people. However, there will probably be a plethora of regulation coming in, which is still better than outright ban, but hopefully they follow Singapore more than any other neighboring country in their regulation. So, two things from this European Council. First of all, one of the members are calling Bitcoin a major threat to financial stability because all these banks, hedge funds, and financial institutions are getting involved in digital currency, specifically Bitcoin. And a few months ago, you heard people saying Bitcoins are actually a month ago. You'd see some people analyze that Bitcoin's not a threat to the wider economy, but now you're probably going to see a lot of more alarmist kind of messages about how big of a threat it can be. And second of all, from the same European Council, they're saying anyone who participates in a financial transaction should be clearly identified on top of paying value-added tax. And there's one interesting thing about the way the entire kind of quote was worded, because they didn't call for a tax on trades, but a tax on Bitcoin transactions, which means potentially if this was implemented, that you could be taxed just moving your coins around, which is absolutely ridiculous. Not only that, it's even less enforceable than taxing crypto to crypto tax obligations. Like, the amount of resources to track every transaction, immense. It's just, you can already know that somebody would make a bunch of transactions just to throw it off, and it's some of these bureaucrats are greedy for the taxation money without actually understanding the environment at all. It's really something how greedy they are for a small and emerging industry, but have those kickbacks from some of the more established people, more bigger industries. Next up, though, Cardano, blockchain's first use case. So they finally have some use, and that's good. It's proof of university diplomas in Greece. Is kind of a pilot program to verify that this person has completed this degree. So I don't know how prevalent degree fraud is, but hey, if it makes it really easy for employers to look up if a degree was actually completed, it will definitely find success, considering the current way takes a lot of time and effort. If someone can just look it up from the comfort of office or home or whatever, they'll 100% embrace this. Next up is Facebook investor and PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel. He betted on Bitcoin pretty big, and because he betted on Bitcoin, he has won quite the haul. So it's kind of a big deal that he bought tens of millions of Bitcoins throughout 2017, and apparently because of it seems like he really unloaded earlier in the year than later, because it says he's grown that tens of millions to hundreds of millions. So I think this will be a story that inspires more companies to enter the fray and get their claim on these returns. And if Bitcoin gains start getting smaller and smaller, you can probably almost expect to see institutions going into altcoins seriously, because the market is really growing, and if it hits the $1 trillion soon, then that's more liquidity that will be flowing into the alts 100%. A lot of people kind of focus on Bitcoin as if it will be the end all be all, but as we see right now, the alt market booms hard sometimes, and some alts really take off. So don't discount the fact that actual useful coins might see massive gains this year. And next up, China's central bank is pushing to curb Bitcoin mining. People have claimed that this would not happen for, I'd say, around 6 months now. That's about when the Chinese start to ban exchanges, and people were saying that this wouldn't happen, that there was really no threat to mining in China, but that's proving false, because there's a group of people in the PRC that is looking to really castrate Bitcoin mining in China. And this regulation that they're trying to push through is limiting the energy use, or by raising the prices. I think limiting how much you can use or something like that. And this change mainly hurts small time miners, because the massive price hike may not make their mining as profitable. But we'll see what happens, because apparently this isn't as big of a threat to the major miners in China, but it could easily snowball into something bigger later, with them slowly adding more and more to starve out the miners. And it's a bad time for centralization in China, but a bad time for the network, since Lightning isn't fully ready yet, but soon. So this will probably be a race against time if the Chinese central bank continues to push against mining. And speaking of mining, Bitcoin miner sued for securities fraud after ICO. Expect to see a lot of these, because basically any coin that raised money through ICO after the SEC's memo this summer is in danger for their ICO to basically get slapped around, and like them getting in a lot of legal trouble for raising this money without registering as a security. And this is basically proven that this utility token idea is a myth. Like, utility token is a buzzword that means nothing if you raise money via an ICO without registering for a security. I'd argue that you really can't be a utility token unless you distribute your coin the old-fashioned way, and you go back to like 2013, 2014, where people would have pre-mines people would have like massive pre-mines where they're like, the dev gives this much, and they distribute it now you have to distribute it out, since proof of work is really losing its flavor to a lot of people. So you can do the old proof of work on, you mine a couple blocks, and everyone else can catch up later. It'd probably have to be straight up all the coins on the table kind of deal, and find some way to distribute that. And I think that'd be the only way you could argue as a utility token. Otherwise, you're 100% going to be treated as a security and face the wrath of the SEC if you are catering to American investors. If you limit America and some certain other countries that I can't really think of, since it doesn't really concern me that other countries also can't invest in ICOs, but I know there's obvious ones like China, but just know that a lot of these ICOs could be at risk, especially the ones that weren't quick enough in barring the U.S. from being able to invest in them. And if there's still even some that today still allow the U.S. to invest in them, U.S. investors to invest in them, you should be super skeptical, because if they're not registered as a security, they have a very high chance of eventually getting slapped by the SEC. You might be lucky enough to get profits before then, but you don't want to be caught up in a situation where your money's just locked up while you could have been putting it in something better. Next up, RBC report, crypto and blockchain could unlock a $10 trillion market. And just last piece of good news, you should just take from this analyst, well, what you should take from this analyst is invest in protocols, not applications. Applications, sure, they might be a cool quick flip sometimes, but protocols are where the big things lie, because protocols will be the ones that grow the biggest because it has other things built on top of them, other people using them. Services will pop up to cater to that protocol. Having this platform will be way more profitable than any kind of application specific one. So just keep that in mind. And if you do notice, majority of the top 10 coins, if not all of them, are things that were made to be kind of built on top of and utilized by other services. They weren't like the end of their use, like they weren't the sole thing to be used for this one or two reasons in this a certain like limited case. They might have a certain niche to them, but most of them do allow a lot of growth room just on their platform itself. Like Bitcoin is obvious. Ethereum, we've seen that through the ICOs. Litecoin has that potential, and it probably has more spending potential than a lot of other coin. Stellar is basically in the same group as Ripple in a way. There'll probably be more traditional services on those two than others. Still kind of skeptical about IOTA, so I can't say anything about that. As you see, Cardano is having people build on top of that. It's not used for a specific case, like a specific task. It has flexibility. So look for protocols, things that aren't used to fit in one little block, but can be flexible enough to be utilized in multiple different cases. And with that, we're done here today. Don't forget to review and rate this podcast, and really helps me out. And look forward to the next episode on Monday. And look forward to a new interview posted next week. So rate and review, help me out, and I'll see you next time.